Hey guys, I just wanted to share something that God's been putting on my heart lately. So I'm going to start in a verse in Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. And it says, "You," meaning God, "will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you." I'm kind of a natural worrier, and it's something God's been working in my heart, but when things get really crazy or I feel like I'm just out of control, my mind tends to worry and get anxious and think worst case scenarios and what ifs. And I love this verse because it basically tells me the opposite. It's saying, fix your thoughts on God, trusting in God, and instead of that worry, I'm going to experience His peace. There's another great passage in Philippians chapter 4, and verse 8 specifically lists things that we should fix our thoughts on, things that are true and noble and right and pure and lovely and admirable. If anything's excellent or praiseworthy, then think on those things. And if you back up the verses before it, summed up, it basically says, don't worry about anything. Just pray about it, thanking God, and guess what? He'll replace those worries with His peace. A few years ago, our youngest daughter, Riley, she'd gotten really sick, and it actually got so bad that she had to be in the hospital for about 5 days because the infection had gotten into her bloodstream. And it was very scary as a parent, but the doctors were great and they figured out quickly what it was. And the solution was that she needed to be in so she could get an IV, and that way they could do a higher dosage of antibiotics for her. Well, we understood this as parents. But Riley, as a 1-year-old, did not understand, didn't know that doctors and nurses are there to help. And so all she knew is that these strangers kept coming at her with needles and things that were uncomfortable, and she did not like it. And the day that they put in the IV, she did what any 1-year-old would do. I mean, she was kicking and flailing and bawling and screaming. And we finally get the IV in, and we're like, whoo, it's done. Well, as soon as she looked down at her arm and saw the IV in there, baby Hulk came out, and she growled, screamed, "Ah!" ripped that thing out of her hand, and the nurses and I were just like, what just happened? So we do it again, same thing. As soon as she sees that, she rips it out. So we got a little smarter that time. The nurse suggested putting it in her foot so we could cover it. And we ended up pulling we had 4 adults versus 1-1-year-old. So I had Riley sit on my lap. I had my arms around her so she could feel me, but I could also control her arms from flailing. I had another nurse holding her legs. The one nurse put in the IV in her foot. And then Carlos just sat and held her face. And he kept telling her things like, "Riley, it's okay. Daddy's right here. Look at Daddy. I love you. You're going to feel so much better." And he just talked her through it. And as she focused on her daddy, she kind of lost the fact that she was getting something poked in her foot. So we quickly got that in. We covered it, put a sock on, and then she was fine. And we were able to get the medicine in her like we needed, and she got better. I started thinking about that story though and realizing how many times I do that to God. I fix my thoughts on my circumstances, on the things that I can't control, the things that may even be painful or uncomfortable. And I start to resist God's plan, going, I don't like this, God. This isn't what I thought it would be. I'm uncomfortable. This hurts. Stop. And instead, I need to trust Him, like all these verses point to. Just like my husband and I knew that IV was uncomfortable, maybe even painful, it was the best solution to fix something that Riley didn't even know she had inside. And God's the same way. He sees all and knows all and controls all. And so sometimes those hard circumstances are there because He actually needs our faith to be stronger. He needs to heal something inside of us that we don't even realize needs healing. And so I just encourage you to use these verses just to be an encouragement and blessing to you. Maybe there's circumstances, maybe amidst this coronavirus, it's just freaking you out a little bit. And so pick a verse, use one of the ones I used, Isaiah 26:3, the Philippians 4:6-8, Proverbs 3:5-6. There's so many verses that God talks about just trusting Him and letting His peace take over. So that's your challenge this week. Pick a verse to fix your thoughts on God instead of the things that are stressing you or worrying you. Well, I love you guys. I am praying for each of you, and I hope you just stay safe and have an awesome week. Bye.